What's up, YouTube? floopydonkey here, and as you see from some of the gameplay, I've got finally some CPU versus CPU sliders here, and it's been rough. I've been in the lab cooking up, trying to figure out why CPU versus CPU sliders are so tough this year. And you can see from the Jags Lions game here in the second quarter, roll away from Jared Goff, who's throw that ball away with some pressure. Now, this is a tight game, and in real life, it should be a tight game. 10-10. Looks like they're getting ready to kick it. Lions taking the lead here on the 4th and 6. And I've had to do a lot of work with this. Now, there are going to be some trade-offs before my slider sets on this CPU versus CPU. So I just want you to be aware of that. This is also my first set. So if you want to constantly get updates on those, make sure to join the Discord. Link is down in the description. Whenever I update these, I will update them on the Discord, because I'm not going to make a video every time I make an update, because sometimes they might be just small tweaks. But this gameplay is actually really good. Very much an improvement from if you just do base sliders on all Madden and then just watch the game. Running is better. Quarterback logic, quote unquote, is better. I mean, they get rid of the ball. Interceptions are toned down a lot. So are fumbles. They're still going to happen. Interceptions are still going to happen. You see their incompletion. No one came up with it. But one of the things you'll notice here with Jared Goff and Trevor Lawrence is they both have a very high completion percentage. And that's one of the trade-offs. If the completion percentage was any lower, and I've got QB accuracy low down pretty low, and I'm thinking about doing it any more, but if I was to adjust it any less, I think there would be a lot more interceptions. And of course, I'm going to adjust these, but they're definitely a lot better than the base Madden. So let's talk about these slider sets. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just how close some of these games have been. Now, this is I think the third franchise run that I've done with the Jags. I tried to choose a team that's kind of low end talent, rising talent. That way I can see, obviously the Chargers, this game 33-17 is an aberration. Jacksonville shouldn't go into Los Angeles and beat the Chargers. But as you see, as I started to figure out some things, the games really got close. 3-game loss, or 3-point loss, 3-point loss, 5-point loss, 5-point loss, 2-game loss, and then the Lions game ended up being a 3-point loss. And you can see that some of these I played multiple times trying to figure out things. I put a lot of work into these sliders, or at least a lot of time, not a lot of work, into trying to figure out exactly what all is going on. But first, we're going to talk about just the league settings and what you need to work with. And you might be surprised with some of these. I have got this on All Pro, and I do have the game style on simulation. Another big thing to keep in mind, and I actually turned off superstar abilities. And you might say, oh, why? Why would you do that? And I think the main reason that I did this was, or really the main reason was to help out with interceptions. Some of the DBs, it seemed like if they have a superstar ability or any type of ability whatsoever that helps them in coverage, if the ball's thrown their way, they're going to pick it off. And I got this even with, you'll see these sliders are turned way down on the defense side of the ball. And when I made this switch, it seemed to help out a lot. Maybe it was just, again, luck of the draw. And as I play more of these games out, I haven't played a full season with superstar abilities out. I've only been by 6 games. I noticed a big difference in gameplay. Now, remember that if you're playing CPU versus CPU, you're really not that interested in superstar abilities. You're interested in gameplay, statistics, feeling like it's an actual NFL game. And I would argue that superstar abilities really isn't needed for that. Superstar abilities is really for people who want to control the players. So it's really not needed. So don't kind of like freak out that much with that. I do have staff talent cost modifier on slow, making it a little bit harder for you to get XP points and develop. But that's totally your call if you want to do that. Clock management, 15-minute quarters. Accelerated clock is on, and I got the play clock time to 15 seconds to help speed up a play. And I'm getting really good stats for my games. We're getting about 120 to 130 plays per game, which is right around the NFL average. I've got, of course, all of the team setting stuff turned off so that you can control it. But the team setting overrides, I did turn off ball hawk, heat seeker, and switch assist. I was like, well, maybe this is potentially having an impact on the gameplay. And I did that at the same time that I turned off the superstar abilities as well. So it might be these. This might not have anything to do with the AI gameplay whatsoever, but I did turn it off, and I would recommend just doing that and trying to follow everything the same way. As you can tell, I really was at a loss because the simming for Madden 23 is pretty brutal. Now, another thing that I normally don't do, and you don't have to do, is you don't have to worry about the player skill sliders. But again, when I started changing them as well and keeping them the same as the CPU, it seemed like gameplay started to get better. Again, I don't know. That was just a feel of mine. You can try it and see, but again, it's just a feel. So the player skill sliders are the same as the CPU. And we'll talk about these CPU sliders in depth here right now. Now, quarterback accuracy's got down to 28, obviously to help with some incompletions. Now, again, trade-off, if we make the quarterback a little too inaccurate, then the interception rate is going to get increased as well. So, you just keep that in mind. Pass blocking is at 90 so that the quarterback can sit in the pocket, find the open guy, and throw it. I was getting a ton of sacks. This seems to really have helped out tremendously with that. Wide receiver catching is down to 40. And again, this is to help out with mainly the quarterback completion percentage. So you'll see the wide receiver sometimes just drop a wide open pass. But again, in NFL, that does happen. And overall, once you get all of your stats for an entire season, it should come out to feel statistically the same. Now, you might see some wide open. You might say, God, Davante Adams would never drop that ball. But, that might be the only ball he drops the entirety of his whole season, which would be statistically accurate for Davante Adams. And then in turn, you might notice that completion percentage over the course of the season might be a little bit better, but I think you're still going to probably see a very high completion percentage, around 70%. Run blocking, we moved to 85 so that you could actually get to about 4 yards per attempt. That's what I was trying to get on average. Before I moved this up a lot, I was getting like 2-3 yards per attempt, which again is just not accurate at all to what the NFL has. Fumbles is bumped up to 60 so that it limits the amount that the quarterback will fumble the ball when getting sacked. Of course, limiting sacks as well helps out with the fumbles, but then also limiting just the fumbles from the ball carrier themselves. Again, that's a trade-off because you're not going to get as many fumbles from skill position players, but it does help out drastically with the QB fumbling the ball. You do see that I've got pass defense reaction time and interceptions all the way down to 0, and it's needed. I mean, if I could take this into the negative, I would, but unfortunately, I can't. Pass coverage is at 30 so that there's still your good corners, your good safeties, your good coverage backers are still going to be able to be around in the area and potentially break up passes. You will notice from time to time, because pass reaction time is at 0, you might have solid coverage and the player might not just react to the ball until after it's caught. But again, that's a trade-off for helping out with those interceptions. And then lastly for this is tackling is at 55. I feel like that's a pretty good medium. Players who are shifty and quick are still going to break tackles, but you're not just going to have people bouncing off of one another. Special teams field goal power is at 55. We had to increase that so that the CPU does not max out their kicks. It's important to remember, even if you're making sliders for user versus CPU, remember that the CPU does not max out their kicks. It's actually kind of crazy because we always do it. I don't know why the CPU wouldn't, but it's just a fact of Madden. Field goal accuracy is down to 48. I did have Justin Tucker miss a 50-yard field goal on this, so that was good to see. Punt power, same reason that we got field goal power raised. Punt accuracy to help out with a few more coffin punts, getting those inside the 20. And you also notice that there will be some shanks from time to time, but it does help out overall with the accuracy of punting. Kickoff power 55 to help out with more less kickoff returns happening and more kickoffs being touchbacks, because that's the trend we're seeing in the NFL. Now, injuries is at a 25. I really am still not noticing a lot of injuries in simming, and that's going to be something that I'm going to work on with probably the next update. Fatigue's at an 84. I still haven't got my auto sub sliders fixed yet, or XP sliders, and obviously that will probably change once I get my auto sub sliders correct. So make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss whenever I drop that video. Minimal player speed thresholds at a 50. That's something else I'm going to be working out in the future. And then penalties is pretty much the same as my user penalties. 70 for offside, 70 for false start, 99 for holding, 55 for face mask, 99 for DPI, and then 50 for illegal blocking the back and roughing the passer. We've got on for all the other ones. Again, penalties in Madden really don't matter. It's if you get one penalty a game, that would be an high for simulation in Madden. Most of the time you're going to play the game and get very little penalties, if any at all. But guys, if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Join the Discord. You can ask me or follow me over on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. If you respond to me or shoot me a message, I will respond very quickly to that, probably more quickly than any of the other platforms outside of commenting down below on the video. But I hope that helps you out. Remember, I will be putting out more content for these sliders specifically. I will be putting updates in the Discord. So I will see you around somewhere. Appreciate the support. Catch everybody later.